Hi, this is Sally Morgan, craniosacral therapist, physical therapist, and Challenging T-Touch practitioner for animals and people. And this is Tristan Corgi, and we're here today for Conversations with a Corgi. And today I would have the great pleasure of reading to you my friend Bernie Siegel's book called Buddy's Candle. It contains many of the most amazing lessons that you can ever learn about coping with life and death, loss of a loved one, and dealing with that difficult time when you have a pet that may be on his way out. So without further ado, I give you Buddy's Candle by Dr. Bernie Siegel. And please purchase this book and give it to your friends. It is really a treasure. The book is dedicated to anyone who has ever lost a loved one. The morning after my son Simon's 9th birthday, I was stretched out on the sofa with our dog Ike, and Simon came over and sat down beside me. "Dad, yesterday I was blowing out my birthday candles and you had a sad expression on your face that I've never seen before. What were you thinking about?" I explained that my son's party stirred up a lot of memories. I told him that when I was 9 years old, I was diagnosed with a type of cancer called leukemia, and everyone was worried about me. I hadn't shared this story with Simon because I didn't want to frighten or upset him. I asked him if he would like to hear my story now. "Yes, please, Dad." When I was a child, I hadn't been feeling well for weeks, so my parents took me to our pediatrician who performed a number of tests. When he told me the family that I had leukemia, they were devastated. My parents and my little sister Rose didn't know what to do. "I'm so sorry, Dad." Simon gave his dad a big hug. "Thanks, Simon, I needed that. You can never have too many hugs." The doctor started me on chemotherapy, which made my hair fall out and left me feeling weaker and sicker. I missed a lot of school and wasn't allowed to play with my friends because the treatment knocked out my ability to fight infections. It was pretty depressing, to say the least. "Gee, Dad, you must have felt so scared and so lonely." On one really rough day, my parents asked me if there was anything they could do for me. I told them I had always wanted a dog to keep me company, and I could sure use one now. My doctor said a dog was okay as long as it was checked by a veterinarian first to make sure that it was healthy. My parents didn't do anything about it because they didn't really want a dog in the house. That's when God stepped in. "What do you mean, Dad?" "Well, one afternoon after my treatment, I was lying in our hammock on the front porch when I felt something warm and wet rub against my hands and face. I thought it was my sister kidding around, but when I opened my eyes, there was a scrawny-looking, fluffy brown dog staring at me. He looked so hungry that I hurried into the house to get him a piece of our leftover chicken. "Hey, little buddy, here's a treat for you," I said. I sat and watched him gobble it down. "Mom, quick," I yelled, "come outside. I have a surprise for you." When she came out, I introduced her to my new friend and told her his name is Buddy. She took one look at Buddy and said, "We'll wait until your dad gets home before we make any decisions." When my dad arrived, he didn't know what to do. I told my folks that God had sent me Buddy, and he was part of our family now. My dad smiled, put his hand on my shoulder, and said, "All right, Simon, I can see how much he means to you. Buddy can become part of our family if the vet says he's healthy." The next day we went to see Dr. Carey, our veterinarian. As he examined Buddy, I saw his expression fade from a smile to a frown. He turned to us and said softly, "I am so sorry to have to tell you this, knowing that you are all going through so much, but Buddy has enlarged lymph nodes on his neck. I would like to keep him overnight for some tests." "That must have been terrible, Dad." "Yes, Simon, it was." We all went home. No one said anything. I knew they were thinking that Buddy probably wouldn't make it, and they were worried about me, too. When Buddy's tests were completed, we returned to the animal hospital. Dr. Carey said that Buddy had a kind of cancer called lymphoma, and asked if we wanted him to start treatment. I said yes before my folks could say anything. They looked at each other, at Buddy, and then at me and said, "Okay, let's make an appointment for Buddy's first chemotherapy treatment, and then we can all get well together." When we brought Buddy home, he was so happy that he started running around the living room, jumping up to my lap, trying to get me to play with him. It was obvious he wasn't worried about anything. He was just enjoying his day. Maybe Buddy knows something we don't, I told my parents. We need to start having more fun every day. Let's try to make every day a chocolate ice cream day. After that, whenever something would happen, we would ask, what would Buddy do? He truly became our teacher and made us aware of the many things for which we should be grateful every single day. He made us realize that all of the side effects of cancer are not bad. That's wonderful, Dad. He sounds like he was a wise dog and a great coach. Yes, Simon, you're right. The best is yet to come. In short order, the story got around about the little boy and his dog both having cancer, and the local newspaper came to interview our family. When the article appeared in the paper, it described how I was hoping for a bone marrow transplant, but that no matching donor could be found. Well, everyone within 50 miles of our town showed up to be tested, and they found a matching donor for me. Wow, Dad, if Buddy hadn't adopted you, you might never have been in the newspaper and you might never have found a donor. That's right, Simon. Buddy was my godsend, and he helped me find a new life. I learned that life is about beginnings. The next week, I was admitted to the hospital. The treatment was really rough. The doctors were very discouraging and preparing my family for the worst. I told my folks I didn't want any more treatments, and I wanted to say goodbye to Buddy. My folks asked the doctor if they could bring Buddy to the hospital for a last visit. The doctor was really nice. He transferred my bed from the bone marrow unit to a private room where my parents and Buddy could see me. At that point, I was hardly moving or talking or aware of what was going on around me anymore. My folks told me later that when Buddy came into my room, and before anyone could stop him, he pulled the leash out of my mom's hand, jumped up on the bed, lay down next to me, and started licking my face. I reached over to pet him and I said, "Hi, Buddy. Thanks for coming. I love you." My folks said everyone in the room started to cry, and from that point on, my condition began to improve. The doctors had a white coat made specially for Buddy to wear when he visited. They embroidered it with the words Buddy, MD, on the jacket. They said in this case, MD stood for my dog. In a few weeks, I was home again playing with Buddy and taking him for his treatments too. Buddy made my life so much more fun. We took hikes, played games, went fishing together. One day while fishing, I tripped on a rock and fell into the pond. Buddy jumped right in and pulled me to the shore. When we got home, my mom asked me why we were both soaking wet. I told her that Buddy had rescued me. From that day on, my mom changed all the rules. Now, wherever I went, Buddy was allowed to go too. At night, he cuddled up next to me in my bed, and in the morning, he walked me to the front gate where we waited for the school bus together. Every afternoon, he would be sitting at the gate, waiting to walk me home. My mom told me she was sure Buddy could tell time because he always went to the front door and barked when the bus was due. One afternoon, when I got off the bus, there was no Buddy waiting for me. I called his name, and when he didn't appear, I knew something was wrong. I ran home as fast as I could. My dad was sitting on the front steps, waiting for me. "Son, Buddy's condition took a turn for the worst. We had to take him to the hospital," my dad said. I cried all the way to the animal hospital. I could see how hard it was for Buddy to breathe. He licked my hand while I petted him gently and told him how sorry I was and that if he needed to go, I understood. I told him our love would keep us together forever. Then I put my head down next to his, and he licked my tears. A few days later, we buried Buddy by the front gate with my note that read, "Together forever." One day, Dr. Carey stopped by and asked how I was doing. I said that every time I got off the school bus, I started to cry and wished Buddy could be there to greet me. We sat down and talked for what seemed like a really long time. He asked if I knew why dogs have shorter lives than people. I told him that dogs know how to love and forgive, so they don't need as much time as we do to learn. He said that my sadness and tears were normal, and when I felt ready, I should ask Buddy to help me find a way to turn my loss into a blessing. He said our love was immortal, like the rainbow bridge, which connects the land of the living with the land of the dead. I went to bed early that night and prayed for Buddy to show me that way. That night, an angel appeared in my bedroom and whispered, "Don't be afraid. I'm a messenger sent here to tell you that death is not the end. It is like a graduation, a commencement, a new beginning. I have come to help you understand why." The angel took my hand and led me across the rainbow bridge to a place filled with light. She told me, in animal heaven, we have a special day each year when we celebrate the new arrivals. I brought you here to watch their parade. You will see the animals are all perfect again, each one bearing a bright candle. As I watched the parade, I saw a dog with an unlit, dark candle. I mentioned it to the angel and she said, "Why don't you go over and light it for him?" As I approached the dog, I saw that it was Buddy. "Buddy, your candle is dark," I told him. "Let me light it for you." "They do keep lighting it, but your tears keep putting my candle out." After lighting Buddy's candle, I promised him that whenever I missed him and felt like crying, I would think of our love instead, so that his candle would keep burning brightly. Before Buddy and the angel waved goodbye, the angel showed me an enormous room full of candles and said, "When a soul is ready to be reborn, they put their candle here, and it starts to burn up. Each candle length represents someone's remaining lifetime. Some are sadly very short, and others are thankfully quite long. Someday your soul dog, Buddy, will return, and the two of you will be reunited." Then Buddy and the angel crossed over the rainbow ridge, their candles both aglow. Although I never told my folks about this dream, they were happy to see a change in me. I started volunteering at the animal shelter and spending more time with my folks around the farm. A few months later, when my mom dropped me off at the shelter, one of the puppies ran over and began jumping up and down, and licking my hand. When I held him, he licked my nose too. My mom came to pick me up and I showed her the puppy. "Simon, he acts like your old buddies." "Look, Mom," I pointed to her, "he has a spot on his nose like Buddy did. Can I take my new Buddy home with me?" My mom thought for a minute and said, "Yes, Simon, but he will need a name to make him feel special too." Remembering that my mom had said one of the reasons she didn't want a dog was because it would shed little bits of fur all over the furniture, I named my new friend Furfy. I carried my new Buddy home, and when I held him close and felt his soft fur tickling my nose, I heard a voice whisper, "Together forever." Well, Simon, now you know why candles are so special to me and why your birthday candles reminded me of my 9th birthday. Candles remind me to live every moment to the fullest, to burn up, not burn out, and to always let my inner light shine so we can be a beacon to others. Dad, thanks. I'll remember that next time I am sad, and I won't let my tears put out any candles either, said my son. Simon, please understand that tears are not wrong. They may soften our pain, but grief and pain are not meant to take over our lives. We are here to show compassion to each other in times of difficulty. So live and learn and remember the candles, what keeps them eternally lit, and that the only light of permanence is love. The lesson I learned from Buddy and my leukemia is what made me want to be a doctor and take care of other kids with cancer. Thanks for sharing your story, Dad. I think I'm going to be a veterinarian when I grow up so I can help animals and learn from them too, like you did. Maybe we can share a waiting room where our animals can teach and heal everyone. And that is Bernie's story. Buddy's Candle is a brilliant story of loss and love and how to live life with so many sentences of wisdom. I encourage you to get this book. It's available on Amazon, and also to give it to anyone you know who is struggling with any situation in their lives. And the wonderful thing is, this book was Bernie's love story and his tribute to his two dogs, Buddy and Furfy, who I met on one of the many, many occasions when I worked with Bernie or went to one of his support groups in Connecticut. And Furphy was a cute little kind of Lhasa Apso miniature sheepdog looking guy, and Buddy was a Brussels Griffon mix. And Bernie had many stories of his dogs and of the amazing things that he found with them through speaking with animal communicators. Bernie is a huge believer in the healing power of animals. And when I wrote my book, Dances of the Heart, Connecting with Animals, it was very important to me to include a section about the messages from Buddy's candle, and also to write it as a tribute to my animals who have made such an impact on my life. I talk about my rabbits who taught me that small animals have big minds and big personalities and opinions and wants and needs. And I wrote about my cat who showed me that cats don't just sit on a windowsill. My cat walked with me on a leash on the beach with absolutely no training, just following my dogs, because I was not really a cat person. I didn't know what a cat could or couldn't do. And so I just took her for a walk, and she walked right along. And I had her about 22 hours, and people were asking me, how did you train your cat to do this? And I didn't even have a name for her. I was just calling her Kitty. And I said, I don't know. I put the harness on her, and she followed the dogs. And then there are the stories of my horses and the wonderful, wonderful things that my horses taught me, especially my horse Burgers, whose name was really Tenpenny Moonshine. Because of his suffering, I was able to find Linda Tellington Jones, who had a huge impact on the rest of my life and on my work with animals. And the book also talks about the animals that I have had and loved, and it was challenging writing about their lives and their passing. But because of my animals and the lessons they taught me, I've been able to help many, many people and animals in the transitional process of passing to over the Rainbow Bridge. And I have had the great fortune of being with many animals when they have passed, and have learned great lessons from every one of them, which you will hear about in the weeks to come. So I encourage you to get Buddy's Candle, to experience the beautiful, beautiful drawings that are in this book that really capture the personalities of the animals and the people, and to take Bernie's message to heart. Crying and sorrow is good to help you get over your loss, but it is not meant to last forever. And you don't want to let your dog's candle go out because of your tears. And we've all lost animals in our lives, and it's always been a difficult thing to carry on. But knowing that they are well and safe, and their bodies are whole, and they are happy where they are in the great beyond, is a relief to all of us. And we all wait or look for our animals to come back. I had a client once who had a Pyrenees, a great big white fluffy dog, right? And she believed that he came back to her as a little bird that she kept seeing on her windowsill for weeks after he passed. And you know, it's a remarkable thing to look for signs from the animal world when you need messages to help you with your life. So Tristan and I want to thank you today for joining us for Bernie Siegel's book, Buddy's Candle. And I encourage everyone who has loved an animal to buy Buddy's Candle and share Buddy's story with everyone that you know and love. And we'll see you tomorrow at 8:25 for Conversations with a Corgi.